I do have slides. So national service implementation. Okay, next slide. We're going to delve more into the actual areas, the service options that we have here. We've done a lot of work with numerous subject matter experts, but we need additional expertise in some of the areas, particularly world language and cultural anthropology. I'm not sure if any of us might have caregiving um, background or insight into the caregiving, journalism, um, but we can use all of these, and we are looking at ways to capture the best talent. But in order to do that, we need to have the best people developing the programs. And I know we live in a limited environment at this point, but when the opportunity comes, we want to be ready to be able to, um, work on updated legislation and make it happen. So next slide, please. I am looking for subject matter experts in these areas. If people are interested in looking at one of these areas or two and providing insight on how we should move forward. With some of these, we are looking at partnerships with the government, partnerships with the private sector, working with the military. We are going to um, have similar training for the academic portion of the service. It would be classroom routine. Well, first of all, we're going to have individuals go to a basic training of 2 to 3 months, and young people would learn life skills. It would be all of them together, learning life skills, government, just a variety of tasks that they need to be successful in life, how to be professional in an environment. We will have uniforms for all of the corps. It may not be as formal as the ones that I displayed, but it would be, say, um, khakis and a shirt that had a polo shirt, I guess, either short sleeve or long sleeve, and maybe a jacket, so that people can recognize that these are young people that are working and developing themselves to support our country. Additionally, we would use the military recruiting area as well. That would be an opportunity for people to sign up for the military, or if they didn't qualify for the military, or were just interested in national service, there would be a section within the recruiting stations where they could sign up for national service. So we will be having national service recruiters and trainers. We also are looking at using some of the excess military reservations to house and to provide the training for the young people in their programs. So with that, if in the chat you could send areas that you might be interested in supporting, um, and I think, can we open this up so that people could discuss um, some of the ideas that they have with regard to the various professional corps?
Yeah, all we have to the main thing that we should do is switch to a view. You won't be able to show your slides, but you can ask
Okay, well, maybe I should finish my slides and then we'll go back.
exactly.
Okay, so next slide. Okay. Additionally, we're going to be renewing the culture of service and acculturation. We can go over the thoughts of what people feel with voluntary versus mandatory. I know this is mixed, and I know individuals from other countries might have suggestions. Some countries do have a mandatory national service. I believe Israel still has the mandatory requirement. But it is really key for our young people to have the civics education K through 12. And one of our individuals participating today is Ted Hollander, and perhaps he can share some of his insight with regard to civic education. Ted has written a book, Bachelors of Citizenship, where he discusses national service and also highlights the need for civics education. So currently we have a very loose civics education program in the public school, but in some of the private schools, there's not a civics education program at all. And we really need to, I don't really know how we could do this, but maybe provide a lot more material. There's a good curriculum available that Justice Sandra Day O'Connor developed, and it's available. And Ted knows a lot more about that, and maybe he can share later. Additionally, there is a lot of interest in universal registration for 18-year-olds. We can go into the next slide, and I can go over a little bit on the Commission on Military, National, and Public Service that was developed in 2017. The NDAA charged a group to research and study this, and they went out and did interviews and briefings throughout the country. And they have a long report that was prepared in 2020, March 2020, and those are readily available. We can provide the website if people are interested in that. But there is also the executive summary, which really is a good summary of what they found. And they did find that we really need to increase opportunities for our young people. They suggest expanding the junior ROTC programs, along with promoting the ASVAB or some sort of career exploration testing. Currently, the ASVAB is taken by less than 5% of the students. But we really need to enable more students to learn about citizenship and service, gain familiarity with the military, and understand how their own strengths could translate into military careers and other service options. Additionally, they did recommend that we retain the selective service system, and they also concluded that the time is right to extend selective service registration to include men and women between the ages of 18 to 26. It's a necessary and fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of the unified nation in a time of national emergency. Next slide. And this just emphasizes what I just shared. Next slide. Okay, we have currently national service congressional caucuses. These have been available for quite some time, and there is both a Senate side and also a House side. And so I'm just showing this to you, hoping that many of you will see your senators on this one. It is co-chaired by Senator Cassidy of Louisiana and Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. It's it's just really important to highlight the need to develop our people and what a resource this will be for our country. Next slide. Here is the House side with co-chairs Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska and Doris Matussi from California. And I know that many of a couple of my representatives from the state of Washington are here, and we have spoken to many of these congressional delegates, and they are really excited about making this happen, but they need a framework and a way to really excite people and to make it happen. So if you have any congressional advocacy experience or know of congressmen or have a personal relationship with some of these, it would be wonderful if you would contact them and share your thoughts with them. Next slide. Again, this is a sound economic investment with significant returns, both with growth and development of our people and engagement with our democracy. National unity, it would bridge societal divides. And we hope to capture the talent for a 21st century workforce. And also civic responsibilities. People forget that the founding fathers really advocated for everybody to participate. There is a quote from George Washington that I'll share with you. And he said that every person, I don't have the exact here, maybe I have it here. Sorry, I don't have it, but George Washington quotes that everybody should participate in our democracy in some way through their own personal time. So next slide. And I won't repeat this because we had it previously. So next slide. Call to action. And we're going to be moving into the workshop portion where everybody will speak. So let's move on to that at this time. So with that, does anybody have ideas for subject matter experts or thoughts with regard to that?
I do. Sorry, I don't know if I'm going out of turn. I couldn't figure out how to get my hand button up. Are you okay with me talking or?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I put it in the comments, but I think it's good just to illustrate. I don't know if you can see this. This is anyway for in terms of subject matter experts. This guy's name is Max Clow. I think he's up in the Boston area. Really, it's hard to describe in words, so I would just recommend contacting him and reading the book. But he has extensive experience with two programs very similar to what you're talking about, City Year.
Right. I know those people. And yeah, we do need to coordinate with them and get them involved.
Yeah.
I worked with them when they did the Serve America Act.
Okay.
The Ted
Yeah.
Kennedy one. Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the second, then he transformed or whatever into a second one, both very similar. But I think what's important is about his journey and how I think he could help what you're trying to do is he actually complexity theory does make its way into his work and his book. But he really did dig deep and through a long journey of about 10 years figured out how to crack the code on literally what the title says, developing servant leaders, at a scale. And you're talking
Yeah.
about a national scale.
Right.
So all the ups and downs, all the lessons learned, all the things that he tried that didn't work. It's just a really, I would bring him in, you know,
Sure. If
once you're actually implementing, right?
yes, yes. Thank you
Okay.
for the suggestion.
Yep. That's it.
I believe Craig has his hand raised. Go ahead, Craig.
Craig?
Yes, yes, thank you. I've been an advocate of the CCC camps probably for 4 decades, and I have realized how important it was getting us out of the Great Depression and not only providing treasures that we treasure today, like the D. Wright Observatory in my area or the Mount Hood um, major, beautiful headquarters. Anyway, it it created jobs and housing for people, and it instilled a sense of pride. And it was based upon basic skills and basic skill levels.
Mhm.
And I've been particularly interested in dialogues about this from the perspective of, are we talking from the top down or the bottom up? And I think that both perspectives are critically important because knowing the devil's in the details. And I think that if we think about, for example, homelessness today and ask ourselves, were the pioneers homeless? Homeless today is about helplessness, whereas the pioneers had self-reliance. We have gotten away from teaching kids and our educational system in basic self-reliant skills.
Mhm.
And I think that this is why we're experiencing the homelessness so much. And when you put up the 4 pillars, the way I translated those is jobs, hope, skills, and healthy citizens.
Mhm.
And I think that we have gotten away from recognizing the critical importance of jobs, and our economists aren't helping in understanding what are all the dynamics that are undermining job creation. And
Mhm.
how has it changed over our lifetime in large part?
Right.
And I think that if we can't go deeper on understanding the root issues, the root causes, we can never solve the problem. So I think it's critically important that we think, whether it's climate change or whether it's giving our kids hope, thinking about survival skills, having a job, and having a home that are all connected so we don't have to commute long distances. If we want to address climate change, we got to stop the way we're living, where our jobs and our lives are far apart. And certainly technology is helping that a lot, but I think that there's many other areas like
Right.
forestry,
And we can
like
explore
energy.
that. Yes, yes, for sure. There are many aspects of this, and somebody made the comment about the military, and um, I know many feel that the military is unpleasant and we would be horrible, but this is not a military program. This is national service. It's a way to get our youth to work together to solve problems. And people have found that as the number in Congress who have served has diminished, that the Congress's ability to solve problems, to work together in a nonpartisan way, has diminished. And we need to fix this so people can work together. It may not be exactly how people want to do a specific function, but they are able to work together, not necessarily by consensus, but a collective action. And this is developing our young people to think critically and to move forward. It gives them an opportunity. And, even if they do something in national service that they don't want to continue the rest of their life, that's something that they've learned that they didn't want to do that. And it wouldn't be a total commitment for the rest of their life. They would change vectors at that point.
I'm from Switzerland, and I think we see that it's very important that the population, citizens have kind of a common sense, and I mean, I can remember my uncle, he studied in the Greek military, became a doctor, which was not possible if you are coming from a poor family. So, I mean, also the military has had its purpose and is very good. So, on the other hand, I think if you want to bring together even also politicians, because I've been working as a public affairs manager and go to the parliament, I think it's important that during the job of a politician has a lot of campaign. It's a huge part of the job beside the political work, which is reading and writing and learning. And if you overdo this campaign, this marketing, and just to win, then it kind of drifts away. So the question is, how can you bring citizens together? And I think it starts also with education and the common sense. And yes, democracy lives, from people. But what if your government is really, kind of dangerous if you have another opinion? And it's there. We live in a very different time. And when I hear military, I'm also a bit sad, because the global development is kind of spiral of conflicts and wars, and it's a very difficult time. So I think every initiative that brings together people is very good, but shouldn't be from one party. It should be from all parties.
The collective.
It has no ideology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Naomi?
I guess I just want to pick up on what Irene said just now. Did I pronounce that right? Irene? And to think about this program that, Margaret, you have clearly been working on for a long time and thought very deeply about. And in the context of On Politics, how can we think about globalizing the program? There are other countries that have national service programs. We can learn from them. We can how can we work together to create a global national service to address some of these global issues that we're facing?
Right. Well, one of the components is the Peace Corps. And that needs to be beefed up, make it more safe and secure. We need to provide situations where our young people can function, that they have guidance and structure where their lives are not going to be endangered. But the Peace Corps is one area. The world language is one. Cultural anthropology, that will expose us to the cultures, so that we can use those people in a diploma, with State Department, with the military, other functions of the government, to bridge gaps, when we're working on treaties, all sorts of situations.
But those are all US based. How do we globalize participation and the
Oh,
program
to take it
itself.
global.
Excuse me,
Okay,
Exactly.
but by
global.
globalize, we have the United Nations. Each country
Right.
has its strategy, and to be honestly, many countries in Europe who were allies of the US are not really happy with what is going on, because in the US new national strategy, we, the allies, we will fight together in the past, are now your threat, and China disappeared. So we are really, I mean,
Right, right.
we
Yeah, you
cannot.
have to take it to the global level too,
United
eventually.
States was always our leader of the free world and democracy and of progress and science. And now you have a health minister who's, excuse me, I mean, it's such a shame to see that.
Right. Well, hopefully our citizens will become more knowledgeable and engaged so that they can make better decisions. I mean, because in the United States we vote, and the vote is very important. But we do need to develop the legal and the law enforcement realm too, and not the way we currently have, but a professional, caring sort of core. So with that, let's go on to the next person. There's a lot of work to be done with this, but
Just one thing, then keep it national, move on. And if you want to participate, also the University Geneva project for WHO resolution, where the USA is not anymore a member, is also a good step.
yes, that's a great idea. Yes.
Join us. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you, Irene. Steve?
I love this idea. I've heard it before, proposed by other people. I just wanted to emphasize how important it is for people to be with people in real life and not
Yeah.
online. And this epidemic of loneliness and isolation is what our enemies are counting on. So I would add another benefit to sell the idea of why it's so important. And there are some of the tech billionaires saying there'll need to be minimum income, distribution with all the AI layoffs they're predicting that is going to happen. And this is another, angle to say we could invest in our future as a country, in our
Yes.
youth. So
Yes.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you. And I know that some of the programs have also included seniors, but this program is primarily for young people. If we can build a successful program here, it could be expanded, and it would start smaller with pilot programs, perhaps medical with nurses and CNAs. We have one individual that I hope to get more involved who is a professor at Johns Hopkins, and she is sharing information there that could be a pilot program. So, Jeffrey, did you want to?
Yep, I did. Oh, it's the other Jeffrey. I'm sorry.
Yes, if I can contribute a little bit, I think this is a very important idea. I certainly, being of age during the Vietnam War, saw that the politics of stopping the draft were very important domestically to preserve the power structure. But it was destructive to civil society and cross mixing between social classes. So I experienced that in my own life. Also, I was in the United States Public Health Service, and one of my friends started the National Health Service Corps. And you haven't mentioned that, but there is extensive experience, including management, recruitment, distribution, and contribution of the National Health Service Corps over many years.
Do you have a point of contact there that you could share with me?
I really don't know if it's still
Okay, we could do
existing.
research on that and find something. But if you find that would be wonderful.
It was started by Fitzhugh McMillan, who was an officer at the time, and that would have been in the 1980s.
Okay.
But it did have extensive experience in that regard. Finally, obviously, um, if we look back at the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, the idea of public civic service was at the top of, if you will, the cultural agenda. And the opposite is that now, so that your whole premise, or maybe you ought to discuss whether you think the cultural value system that we currently have has to change before your idea could be implemented.
Um, Definitely some of it would need to change, but we need to be prepared to roll, and we can do some smaller pilot programs. We have a strong need for all of the functional areas that I mentioned, but probably it's more doable within, to do something with the CCCs and ecology in that area, discreetly, and also cybersecurity. There are opportunities for cybersecurity programs right now where we are training cybersecurity individuals, in a civilian role, but, why not add a dab of, national service and the value of servant leadership to their training, and then they would get the national service check and their certified skill. Ultimately, we would want to have an area on applications, for the government and maybe and also for civilian jobs. Did you do national service? So,
Right. I would add one additional factor to the discussion. My day job is working with abused and neglected children and foster care.
yes,
And obviously, this is a vehicle for remediation and rehabilitation of children who are lost to society through those harms.
yes,
And it would be very important in that regard as well.
right. We're talking to the Boys and Girls Clubs. Sheila?
Margaret, one of the things that the United Nations study could do is add a component that explores how a national service program could how it could be tied to the United Nations, building on Naomi's question about how do you make this a global effort.
Right.
And I think what I'll do is I'll talk to the student intern and see if I can start that process.
Excellent. Thank you, Sheila. Adam Finkel?
Yeah, thank you. This is great. Just a quick comment. I'm not sure I saw it. I was distracted for a minute, but there are tremendous needs in the environmental health and occupational health area. The number of inspectors and consultants who do the federal government actually has a free consulting program for workplaces on air quality and health, but the numbers are down from several thousand to several hundred. So,
Right.
and
Excellent.
as I said the other day, there's no way right now to do both of those at the same time, the outdoor and the indoor, and this would be a cadre of people who could do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your input. Jeff?
Thanks for the presentation, Margaret. I'm drawn to this solution because it actually, I think, at least partially solves a number of problems we have. But the one I wanted to focus on first is the appealing prospect of bridging divides, putting people from very different backgrounds together to develop common perspectives, common understanding, and all that. That's a good thing. However, I think you have to think carefully about whether you choose the voluntary or the mandatory route. Because if you choose the voluntary route, then you have to ask the question, who will volunteer? And there's no simple answer to that, but on balance, folks who have fewer options are more likely to volunteer. If they've got something else to do, they will do it. Those are predominantly not going to be those of privilege and affluence, although there may be some well-intentioned exceptions to that. And then that diminishes some of the value of mixing the folks from different backgrounds. So my personal view is that one of the major barriers to progress in the country today is that the haves don't understand the have-nots at all, Not sure
Right.
the have, I think the have-nots actually have a pretty good understanding what the haves are doing, but the haves do not understand the have-nots. And if we could get more mixing of them so there's some understanding of what it is like to live without privilege and affluence, that would really change the ability of the country to move forward on some of the programs I talked about in my lightning round presentation.
Right.
I'm slightly hesitant to move towards mandatory, but given that concern, I think it's worth thinking about whether mandatory does that, or if there's some other way of structuring it that makes it more likely that the bridging that is a really appealing feature of the program will actually occur. Just one final comment is that a number of people have commented on the notion that this appears to have a military focus to it. I understand your responses to that. I think those points are well taken. It's just worth thinking about as a matter of communication at the least. Make sure that what you're talking about is not a military program. The national
Right.
service aspects of it are first and foremost. The military can do its own thing. It already does a pretty good
Right. And
job.
it would.
Yeah, but
I
it would
mean,
continue without this effort to draw lower income folks who don't get opportunities otherwise, who get skills training and so on, and also mix across racial and ethnic categories, which is always a good thing. So I would just on the communication side, just think a little bit about avoiding these military comments because there's something to them. But the more important one is how to achieve the kinds of mixing and bridging that you and I both
yes.
see as a virtue to this.
Yes. And it is a paid program. So,
That helps, but
yeah.
if it's
Right.
JP Morgan versus Conservation Corps, sadly, a bunch of folks are going to go for JP Morgan.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Yanir?
yeah, so I actually wanted to fill in a little bit about the National Health Service since it was mentioned and can play an important role in framing some of these things. And again, I don't know it very well. I actually know of a different program, but I didn't know about this one. But they don't seem to be related. So the National Health Service Corps is supporting about 20,000 clinicians serving in underserved communities across the United States. So this includes primary care, dental, and behavioral health providers placed through scholarship and loan repayment programs. So this is actually per year, there are 20,000 people being supported in this. And it is active now. It is not something that is. So Jeffrey's comments are very relevant in terms of thinking about how this could be integrated, perhaps, or at least
Right.
associated with
Yes. And the
a
medical
newer
corps.
program that would be expanded these issues.
Right. Right. And there are skeletons of some of these programs currently. The CCCs at the state levels, some states, I know Washington State had a smaller program that was state funded with some federal grants. But anyway, there are skeletons of these programs around right now that we need to take advantage of. Leora? Oh, did you
Sorry.
have more?
Yeah, she's go ahead. You can keep going.
Okay. Who is next? Are there more
I
comments?
think you're finished with the active members, and let's just look at the time limitation right now. How much time do we have left? We started at 10:30 and we're supposed to go for another about 30 minutes. So the
Oh,
question is, what would you like to do with the time?
Well, we have,
go ahead.
well, I just wanted to say we have a couple of hand raised now, Leora and Joel, just to let you know. But yeah, go ahead.
Why don't we continue to hear discussion so that we can get all the thoughts from the group, take advantage of the group.
Okay.
Who is the next in line with, I can't see
It was Leora
Leora?
and then Joel after
Okay.
that.
Okay, so
Laura
preface by
seems,
saying,
yeah.
I'll preface this by saying I almost joined the Vermont Conservation Corps. It was pretty much COVID that stopped me from doing that. And I have friends who joined, and I would support an expansion of those kinds of programs. I also back in college, I engaged in activism for a Green New Deal, and I would support an expansion of programs that lead to more green jobs and renewable energy. And I could see supporting an expansion of jobs in medicine, as you've said. However, I do have a lot of criticisms of I have cousins in Israel, and I have a lot of criticisms of how the Israeli National Service works, which I put into chat. I already put those into chat. I'm sorry. One issue I have with mandatory national service is it leads to an in-group and out-group, and it does lead to discrimination against people who don't do, or it can at least lead to discrimination against people who don't do the mandatory national service, whether perhaps you're too disabled, you're a recent immigrant, and that's the issue I have with the mandatory one. For another, it does, as the U.S. has an openly, and as a president who's been openly threatening to legally attack or annex other countries, the military, as someone else said in the chat, the military aspects of this seem particularly tone deaf right now, as the U.S. has been threatening. The U.S. president has been threatening to annex
yes,
Canada. I wouldn't, and personally, I wouldn't want to.
Right. Yeah, we're going through troubled times right now. I agree, and so I don't know what to say. We voted. Our country voted to make this happen or to enable the current situation, but that's why we need to vote, and it shows the civics responsibility need to have all of our people learn more about how government works, and to be careful about what social media they pay attention to. One of the cores we have is journalism, and we need to have a professional journalism core. But we are in a capitalist society too. But if there's other solutions, this is just a partial solution. So, and I don't mean to emphasize the military, other than the military is exceptional on training and getting people to function well together. But they do have many aspects that are non-combat oriented. I know that the Air Mobility Command is the largest aviation resource used for humanitarian aid in the world. So there are a lot of opportunities that way. And in the diplomacy line, states, the National Guard have state partnerships with other countries as well. And maybe we can include some of the civilian corps with that, perhaps the cultural anthropology, journalism, and well, probably any of them could go into that particular area as a civilian. So it's just a way to weave people, within, so that people function together.
Let's go on to Joel. You have to unmute here.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. I'm delighted to hear the topic come up. I've been a small champion of it in things like New Hampshire primary politics for several decades.
Mm-hmm.
And with that perspective, I'm particularly intrigued at the number of senators and congressmen you've got on the list. The question is how to make use of that. And one concern, not a concern, one issue I have to give a perspective from another organization is the League of Conservation Voters, which which recruits for their point of view and puts out lists of, well, things like the Dirty Dozen, the people who are environmental, undesirables, and environmental champions.
Mhm.
One of the issues I wonder about, and they and others put out scorecards for members of Congress. One of the issues I wonder about for your list of senators and congressmen is how many of them actually vote that way, and how many of them just like a talking point? And to what extent can we collectively take advantage of the ones who really do support that, either in electoral politics, maybe for new people coming in, or to take advantage of the ones who have already signed up and seem to mean it.
Right, right.
Where's the leverage? I'm not worried about the military versus Donald Trump, for example. I think there are very few things that this could do that would restrain him, that
Right,
he's
right.
not
Yeah,
already restrained by. He's unrestrained in some ways, and I don't think this will add to the list of ways he's unrestrained. So I'm
right,
not
right.
concerned, especially I think this has generational value, not
Yes,
just, half a presidential term value.
exactly. Yeah, it's a vision for the future. Um, I can explore to make sure that people actually vote along the lines that of national service and supporting ecology and that sort of thing. Um, but the dynamic within Congress now is to stay with the party versus the issue or what their constituents want necessarily. So, yeah, I look at this as a way to do nonpartisan issues that need to be addressed, and we need it's a movement really to get people engaged, and it has future benefits. Next question. Do you have more, Joel, that you'd like to add?
I'm sure, but not at the moment.
Okay, well, please join us and provide input because we'd love to have people that um, um, are engaged right now. I know that New Hampshire has an excellent World Affairs Council, so they meet often and the programs are fabulous.
So we're actually at the end of the discussion section. I just wanted to share that since it was, and the last 15 minutes are designed for next steps. So if you have some particular next steps that you want to talk about, this would be a good time. And obviously, as with all of the other workshops, and there's an invitation of people to join the efforts, and
Right.
people are welcome to drop their names in the chats and discuss with you and with others who are already involved in this project, what are the next steps in advancing this and thinking about how to refine it. There were a number of comments that already were made that might be helpful.
Right.
How would you like to do things? We can call for people to make comments in the chat about whether they would like to participate and how, or you can do it any other way you want. That's what this time is for.
That would be great to put comments in the chat or to participate. And if you participate, once or twice and can provide input that would benefit the group, that would really help. This is not a long term. It could be in engagement with the project, but I encourage people to meet in the future and there's just a lot of thoughts that need to be developed. And we are working with some other organizations. There was a mayor's conference recently in DC, and there's also a governor's conference, and they are addressing, because this is going to be a community, state, and national program, and hopefully eventually global as well, will expand. So there's a lot of opportunity to develop this.
Okay. So the invitation is there for people who would like to participate at whatever level, local, state, national, global, but more generally to figure out how to refine the ideas. As we said, there are other instances of this globally. I put in a comment in the chat where there is a lot of countries around the world that have various forms of national service. A lot of them, of course, are military based, but not all of them by any means are focused on military only or are doing other things as well. And so there's plenty of opportunity to learn how these things work in different contexts as well.
Right, right. And it's a positive way to move forward, I believe. And, many people say people are key to democracy. Well, this is really putting the rubber, putting your foot to the rubber, so to speak, to walk down the path, because we need to do some things. We can talk about them, we can try things and improve and that sort of thing, but we need to move forward with action.